Hello, welcome to Block 42. My name is James, and today I'm going to tell you some more about all the fun things you can do in this program, like animation. So let's get started. So here we have an animation of a spaceman, or woman, and what we're going to do is we're going to make them drop off of this little rocket ship here, this nice bright red one, jump down onto the surface of, in this case, the planet Mars, and then take a couple of steps like they would in a low gravity environment. So, this is a little bit more complex than you might think, so let's just get into it. So, after a little bit of placing the character and placing the camera, we're going to take this character and drop them from their position on the side of the spaceship all the way down to the base of the ground. So we're going to, at the same time, rotate their limbs into a standing position so that when they land, they'll have something to actually drop onto, and just having a little bit of trouble locating the joint there. And then we're going to move them down onto the ground plane here. So this is over 33 frames, and what we're going to do is we're going to see what this looks like. Is this too fast? Yes, that's definitely too fast. So we're going to drag the keyframe all over till it looks like it's a good speed. I'm also finding all of the keyframes that I created for the rotation of the joints, and I'm also pulling them to that same time frame so that the legs and arms don't move faster than the character does. So I'm just looking at this, and that seems to be about a good speed. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the main controller for the spaceman. I'm going to rotate them to the left, well, our left, so that after he lands he'll do a little spin, and then, well, maybe not that quickly, let's pull it out a little bit slower, there we go, and ready to walk off, or sort of leap off in our case. So what we've done here is we've set a keyframe on the translation controls, the movement controls, so that he doesn't just start moving as soon as the last keyframe stops. What we're doing here is we're going to have him leap into the air and then back down. I'm just going to extend the time frame here just so that we can get another hop in. And there we go, up one and then back down. I'm very deliberately using sort of 30 frame increments here, just so there's some level of pattern to it. Okay, so that's a pretty jerky hop, but we can make this work. This is just a start. Everything looks a bit ugly for the very first time, until eventually you finesse it and starts looking a bit better. So let's see what we can do to finesse this. First off is we're going to create the secondary action of the arms and the legs moving. So we're going to create this like it's an exaggerated walk. So when you walk, one arm goes up, one arm goes back, one leg goes up, one leg goes back. And so we're going to be mimicking that here. So every time the character lands, he's going to be landing on both feet with his arms at his sides. And then when he takes off, he's going to be pushing the opposite arm forward and then the opposite arm backwards. Same with the legs. So again, it's just like a very exaggerated walk, where instead of necessarily just walking, he's leaping into the air using each of his legs like you might in a very running leap. And finally, he's going to land on the ground with all his limbs just sort of in a neutral position. So if we look at what we've got, up, down, it's still a bit jerky, but we can smooth that out. He at least has a proper sort of movement to his limbs, which gives him a little bit more life and makes it look a little bit more natural. So what you can see here is that his limb rotation wasn't properly keyframed when it should be, so he was actually going into the pose for the leap before we really wanted him to. So all of his arms and legs were just moving a little bit too soon for what we want. So we're going to re-keyframe that, and now he's going to leap off a little bit more properly. So go straight, and then into the jump. There we go. Lovely stuff. So now we're going to add arcs to this movement. Real life movement doesn't just happen in very straight linear lines, so what we're doing here is trying to implement a bit of a curve to this fall. So he's going to leap off, and then gravity will gradually pull him down faster and faster, so we get a bit of a curve to his movement. And I'm just adding some keyframes and trying to get that sort of look going. There we go, that looks pretty good actually. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So even in a low gravity environment like this, where you could leap sort of from a high spot, we're going to need to add a little bit of movement to show that the impact is having an effect on our character. So what we're going to do is we're going to have his shoulders and chest bend down with the force of the landing. So as you can see here, he lands, takes a little bit of time to bounce back, and then he's ready to go. There we go, looks lovely. So now we're going to take a bit of time to try to add some arc to this character's jump. So right now it is still very linear, straight up and then straight down at an angle. But now what we're going to do is we're just a couple of keyframes out, we're going to pull the character back and then push him forward to get a little bit more of a rounded look to it. That looks pretty good actually. So the entire idea is that we're trying to get a less of a sharp angle and change in direction, because real life doesn't really like sharp curves, they like things to be sort of round and smooth, and so that's what we're going to try to do here. Give him more a rounded appearance to his jump, because that is more how one would actually jump. This does mean having to fiddle around with several of the keyframes I've already placed, but that's fine. Everything needs to look right in relation to everything else, and so if one particular keyframe looks great, but just not in comparison to the rest of the piece, it needs to be adjusted. That's looking pretty good, I think. And there we go. A nice, simple, very basic little animation of an astronaut dropping off of the side of his rocket ship and then going for a little spacewalk, a little space hop. Isn't that great? So this sort of thing will be the sort of animation you would use for any sort of moon or low gravity environment, and it's just a fun little way of demonstrating that they're in another world, which is always a lot of fun. Once again, this has been Block 42, and if you've enjoyed, why not try downloading it and give this sort of thing a shot? Block 42 is a very simple program that can let you create interesting animations with your friends and really allow you to let loose with your creativity. So why not give it a try and download it? It's free, why not? Have fun.